Greetings, Fire Chargers, Darkblade here, and in this video I will be reacting to the Mandarin Chinese syllables that could exist, but don't, uploaded on March 15th, 2015. It has accrued almost 35,000 views and almost 2,000 likes. Anyway, I previously tried to record a reaction to this video, but I started over because I think it added too much superfluous pause time with no substantive commentary.
Chinese languages have relatively restrictive syllable structures compared to other languages. In Mandarin, for example...
Well, it is true that they have restrictive syllable structure compared to some other languages in general, but a lot of other languages in the specific part of Earth have similar syllable structure and phonotactics to Chinese. For example, Korean and Thai have similar syllable structure to the Southern Chinese languages, and I think Japanese gets even more restrictive than Mandarin.
Words can only end in na, nga, or a vowel sound.
That's
in total,
correct.
There are only 22 initial consonants that can be followed by one of 36 finals.
By the way, I wouldn't count R as a final. It is its own syllable that cannot take any consonant initial. So the 22 initials are a, b, p, m, f, d, t, n, l, k, g, h, z, c, s, j, ch, sh, r, ji, qi, xi. And the finals are I, an, ang, I, ao, n, a, ong, o, i, in, ing, ya, yan, yang, yao, ye, yong, you, yu, yun, yuan, yue, wan, wang, y, I, when, weng, wei, wo, wu. By the way, it's I and wu, not yi and wu.
In Mandarin include a vowel, optionally a ya, wa, or yua glide.
By the way, the reason why I said ji, qi, xi with an E vowel instead of a neutral vowel like I tried for the other 19 will be encountered later in this LingoLizard's video.
All of the possible syllable combinations can be shown on a chart like this with all the initials
That's
and
correct.
finals. Combining these with the 5 tones would mean that there are 3,960 possible syllables in Mandarin Chinese.
Well, it's technically actually 4 primary tones and a neutral tone if we only count the 4 tones and get rid of the 36 because as can't take any consonant initial. So 22 times 35, that would be 770. 70 times 4, that would be 2,880 plus 700, 2,000, and that would be about 3,080. Let me check on my phone. What is 22 times 35 times 4?
It's 3,080.
Yeah.
Right? Not even close. In reality, there are many pairs between initials and finals that are invalid. For example, syllables ki and kya don't occur would mean that there are 3,960 possible syllables in Mandarin Chinese, right? Not even close. In reality, there are many pairs between initials and finals that are invalid.
Correct.
For example, syllables ki and kya don't occur since the...
Yeah, that restriction also applies in Cantonese. Means ki as a syllable doesn't exist. Though surprisingly, ki can occur as a medial in syllables that take a g or k initial, but not as like the entire final. So gi and ki don't exist, but gyu, q, gin, kim, gin, kin, gin, king, gip, 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 and geek do exist. And as for kya, Cantonese basically does not allow any initial consonant to take any glide, although ka and gua can take the labial glide, and when in such cases are reanalyzed as additional labials qua and gua. But ya cannot only occur with a null initial.
Sound cannot be palatalized, followed
Yes.
by e or ya, as there was a sound shift of historic palatalized ka, ka, ha to ta, cha, and sha. By the way, today's video is sponsored by AirLearn, a new ridiculously effective language learning app. More on that later. Similarly, ga, cha, sha, and ra can't be followed by palatal finals, but do have one final exclusive to these 7 initials, as in z, c, s, zh, sh, r.
That's
On the
correct.
other hand, Mandarin's alveopalatal sounds jia, xia, and xia can only take palatal endings yi, yin, yi, ya, yan, yang, yao, ye, yo, yo. There's also the labiopalatal series of finals, those being yu, yun, yue, and yuan, which can only occur after.
By the way, if you want a tip on how to pronounce this vowel sound from me, officially its name is like front or close high rounded vowel. If you're like most people, a lot of people, that probably helped about 0. So here's another one. Try making an E sound and then round your lips, but keep everything else in your mouth, like your tongue, in the same position that it would be for an E sound. So E. This sound also exists in French, German, Cantonese, and Ancient Greek. And as for the glide form, try ya followed by wa, but try to make the transition like bleed into each other. I don't know if that's the right word, and make it short. So ya wei liang, ya wei liang, yue wei liang, yue liang, ye liang.
Na, la, jia, xia, and xia. Final.
By the way, the yu sound is only written with the 2 dots after the initials na and la, because those are the only 2 initials in the entire, as it called, Chinese language that can take both yu and u medials. When yu is with a null after a null initial, it's just written as y, regular u. When it's after G, it's J plus a regular U. Q is Q plus a regular U, and Xu is X plus a regular U.
There's the labiovelar finals wa, y, wang, wei, wen, which cannot occur with labial initials ba, pa, ma, and fa.
But they can take U as just a normal medial vowel.
However, even if we mark out all of the invalid combinations of.
Should I try to count how many are being eliminated? Maybe not. 1, 5, 10, 13. 5, 10, 13. Proceeds to do it anyways. 16, 19, 22. 25, 28, 31, 34, 37, 40, 43, 46, 49, 52, 56, 60, 64, 68, 72, 76, 80, 84, 88, 92, 95, 98, 101, 104, 107, 110, 113, 116, 119, 112, 115, 118, 121, 124, 127, 130, 133, 136, 139, 142, 150, 154, 158, 162, 166, 170, 2, 3, 190, and then 193, 196, 199, 202, 25, 28, 211, 214, 217, 221, 225, 229, 233, 236, 239, 242, 245, 248, 251, 254, 257. So 257 initial final combinations are illegal. Multiplied by 4, that gives us 1028 to cross off.
Sounds in the chart of possible syllables, there is still plenty of syllables which, while feasible, simply do not occur in Mandarin. For example, there is no syllable qiu, despite similar sounding syllables dio, nyo, and liu existing. This is even more noticeable with tones. While all syllables are theoretically able to take any of the 4 main tones of Mandarin, there's no shortage of syllables that only take 2 or 3 tones.
So there's san, 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 but no san. Ken, 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 but no ken, but no ken. Nu, 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 but no nu. Shuai, 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 but no shuai. Zay and zay, but no zay or zay. Nun and nun, but no nun and nun, but no nun or nun.
And there are even a few with only one tone, such as se, te, lia, ra, shay, and j.
By the way, the standard pronunciation of J is J. And while shay is the most common pronunciation of shay that I come across, I think the official literary pronunciation is shui.
Cases, the reason for certain Mandarin syllables not existing is that there were simply no syllables present in Middle Chinese that could evolve into their modern equivalents. For example, while the syllable swa follows Mandarin phonotactics, none of the Middle Chinese finals that turned into the Mandarin final wa could come after alveolar sounds like sa.
It says MC finals leading to Mandarin wa only after velars and retroflex. So the velars are k, g, and h. So you could have gua, kwa, and hua, which do exist in Mandarin. And also shua, jua, chua, ra, and I think those exist, but I haven't. It's been a long time since I don't remember if I've ever encountered any of those with them, and it's been a long time since I've actually taken a serious look at the Yop chart. Wait, yeah. Chart was presented earlier in this video, so I can see if
Nyo and liu existing. This is even more noticeable with tones. While all syllables are
yeah, so schwa, jua, chua, and dra do exist.
None of the Middle Chinese finals that turned into the Mandarin final wa could come after alveolar sounds like sa. With the tones in particular, words starting with sonora initials, those being ma, na, and la, that were regularly evolved from Middle Chinese, can only take tones 2, 3, and 4, meaning the first tone appears in considerably fewer words starting with those consonants. They still do occur in words such as
Ma,
mao and
la.
la, which if they evolved regularly from Middle Chinese, would have become mao and la. The majority of syllables that would have evolved into a ga, ka, or ha ended up palatalizing into jia, qia, and xia.
Yeah, you can actually see this if you look at some other readings around and that are not palatalized. For example, jiu is gao in Cantonese with no palatalization. Asian ku in Korean with no palatalization, and one onyomi pronunciation in Japanese is ku with no palatalization. Likewise, qiu meaning ball is gu is that appears in the suffix of sport names is, for example, nonggu. That is the word for basketball, and you can see that gu has no palatalization on it.
But since there's nothing phonotactically unsound about those initials being followed by a long a, those three syllables have reappeared in words such as gang, ga, ka, ka, fei, and hama.
Oh, it was talking specifically about ga, ka, and ha. So, not just ga, ka, and ha as generic, what is it called, initials. Because there were other combinations of these initials and finals that ended up getting palatalized in Mandarin, and some additional readings, but not others.
Oftentimes, these deviations occur because of the words originating from onomatopoeia or
Meow.
locals from other languages, which may
Ganga.
include ones from
So, cafe. So, ganga from Wu Chinese. I've heard that Wu Chinese is one of the hardest, is like one of the hardest dialect families. It has one especially hard dialect. I've heard that from one of LingoLizard's videos.
other varieties of Chinese. Talking about Mandarin or any language really puts me in the mood to learn them. There are a lot of options to learn a language out there.
By the way,
but
how am I
want to
doing for
introduce
time?
y'all to AirLearn. AirLearn is a free language learning app that has all the hallmarks of effective learning methods and a cute cat mascot. Lessons in AirLearn take the time to describe the culture of the people who speak the language, an important but often neglected step. AirLearn also teaches grammar in a simple and concise manner, and has a separate tab for reviewing any vocabulary you've learned through it.
I can check that. Wait.
The time to describe the culture of the people who speak the language, an important but often neglected step. AirLearn also teaches grammar in a simple and concise manner, and has a separate.
So yeah, I am also learning Korean on AirLearn.
For reviewing any vocabulary you've learned through it. There are also leaderboards to encourage yourself to absolutely
I really need to
destroy anyone else standing
maybe
over
eventually take
AirLearn has
notes of
absolutely zero ads whatsoever and offers 5 free lessons daily.
Learn Chinese with great Chinese TV shows. 有一天，石头裂开了，一只猴子。
Can someone in the comments if they... Oh. It says so right here, assuming that's the title.
Absolutely zero ads whatsoever and offers 5 free lessons daily. Consider signing.
And it's actually quite easy to get like maybe one or more free lessons per day on AirLearn. Well, it's not actually easy. There's nothing you can do to ensure that you get it, but every so often, like if you, after completing one lesson and after completing 5, you will get a random reward. And that reward can be additional hearts that allows you to do additional lessons. It can also be like some golden heart, which basically gives you infinity hearts for the next 30 minutes. So it is much easier to do more learning on AirLearn than on something like Drops.
Yep, for AirLearn today to make this cute cat happy and to actually learn how to speak the language. And now back to Mandarin syllables. Out of the 36 possible finals, there are 2 which only occur with one initial, the null initial. One of these is R, which we'll get to later, and the other is Weng. Theoretically, you could analyze Wa as its own initial and classify the syllables having the final eng, but calling this its own final is more in line with traditional analyses of Chinese finals.
Yeah, and it would, and the eng part would be considered its own, a separate final, and what an initial in Cantonese, because that would be is more economical for Cantonese, because Cantonese means initial consonants generally can't be glided. So if you have wa and ya as part of the finals, then that reduces how many initials there are by 4. So no more ka, no more qua, gua, wa, ya, but introduces a lot more, finals. And there are already 56, which is more than Mandarin. So if you count wa and ya as initials or part of initials, you reduce that number of finals and only add 4 initials. However, Mandarin is different because almost every initial consonant can take a glide. You might reduce the number of, if you count wa and ya as initials or part of initials in Mandarin analysis, you might remove, like, say, 14 or so finals, but add 26 more initials.
Chinese final ung became the Mandarin final ong in all cases except for after the glottal stop, which turned into weng. If this is to be considered an ending on equal standing as the similar sounding one, then theoretically it could come after more initials, like potentially quang. As you'd expect, ong didn't arise as a syllable directly from Middle Chinese. It only occurs rarely as a reading of the word om, as in the Sanskrit sound, which is usually read as an, and less frequently as weng. The ong final also doesn't occur after the labial sounds ba, pa, ma, and fa, but interestingly, the final ung after these sounds is often pronounced the same as ong would be. Words with 2 syllables can also be combined into 1 syllable in colloquial speech, such as kei turning into k, and na yang shortening to nyang.
I get na yang becoming yang, nyang, because both of these are 4th tones. It makes sense that they would contract into a 4th tone. But 可以, both are 3rd tone, though the 可 part is realized as if it were a 2nd tone due to a specific tone Sandy rule about 2 third tones next to each other. They're contracting to K. How does that work?
And at long last, I get to talk about Duang.
What's that?
There was this 2004 commercial Jackie Chan starred in promoting Bawang shampoo, where he says the words Donga, but the way he said it sounded like Duang. And a decade later, this became a meme.
Is that like an unofficial character for, or what is it called? Dong. It's kind of like, I think this part is Cheng, meaning change or become. And this is Long, meaning dragon. Sorry if that's not exactly right. I have tone amnesia with a lot of characters.
On the Chinese internet, cementing it as a word people use. While this final only occurs in Wang, Guang, Quang, Huang, Zhuang, Chuang, and Guang, no syllable structure rules would be violated by.
Which are these are the velars and the, what's it called, the retroflex, which is the same environments where wa could occur, and also the null initials.
It appearing in Thuang, Huang, Luang, Nuang, Zuang, Cuang, and Suang. Similarly, Piang and Yang don't occur, while the infamous Biang does.
Biang as a syllable does not exist in the Mandarin language, except as some contractions of two character terms, and in this specific character, which is onomatopoeic, whose pronunciation is onomatopoeic in origin. So I don't think that is a good example.
There's a very marginal syllable fiao. It comes from the Wu Chinese word fiao, which has its own character, and while it's assigned the Mandarin reading fiao.
So the parts are like wen and yao.
It's also not used in Mandarin.
Who is doing
only
this
in Wu
assigning?
Chinese. Still, this suggests that the palatal endings have the potential to come after fa, like the rest of the labial consonants, as in the hypothetical fi or fio. There are also the interjections o, lo, and yo, which have what appears to be a new final all, but since they're not really normal words, they aren't considered to be a part of the same phonological system as the rest of the language.
Oh, and by the way, about swa from earlier in the video, some Mandarin dialects do merge the, what is it called? Oh, the alveolar and retroflex sibilant series, so they might not have a strong audible distinction between s and sh. So they could realize their schwa as swa, and I think LingoLizard even acknowledges this in, or is it? No, that's 错. I only realized after making this thumbnail that for Chinese speakers who shift sh to s and schwa becomes swa. I hate my life. And I think the Shenyang dialect is one that does this, and I've heard this from my mom, whose family is from Shenyang.
Not to mention they're pronounced with the O ending by many speakers.
Oh,
While Mandarin
no.
Chinese has 5 tones, anyone familiar with the language knows that the 5th tone isn't as prominent as the other 4.
Yeah.
While better described as being a neutral or soft tone, it's sometimes described as being no tone. But that's not entirely true, as it typically takes on a specific tone level
So after the first tone, it's like crashes like a 4th tone, and after the second tone, it also crashes like a 4th tone, but starting and ending just like one register level higher than it would following a first tone. After a third tone, it's like starts in mid and slightly rises, and after a 4th tone, it starts low and slightly falls.
by the tone of the syllable right before it, and there will always be a syllable before them because tone 5 is exclusively used for particles like da, la, na, ma, and a, suffixes zi and men, or as the second syllable within boundaries of certain words, such as 东西, 眼睛, and 朋友. Though in this last case, the second syllable is often pronounced with one of the other tones.
东西眼睛朋友朋友眼睛眼睛. I don't know which one I've heard more comments.
What this means is that any potential new words with the 5th tone could not occur freely on their own like with the other 4 tones. So while theoretically any syllable could take the 5th tone, in practice only a small percentage of them would. There's only one syllable in the entire language that only occurs with the 5th tone, which is ma.
Burger King, you inspire the menu. Try the ultimate steakhouse Whopper today.
I am.
Then shanma, zanma, zhenma, and nama. There's something else that's interesting about the syllable.
Ma.
The ending can occur after all non-palatal initials, but with the labial sounds, they shifted to wo, as in bo, po, mo, and fo. But the existence of ma, in contrast with mo, seemingly makes them separate endings, meaning fa, pa, and fa are feasible. Remember when I said we'd get to r later? Now is later. The Mandarin syllable r evolved from Middle Chinese ni. If you
So we get this to y to z, to this to that to r to to r, ni to not sure to niz to niz to, this is like a retroflex hook, to z to. By the way, those beginning with the initial also originally started with this sound in Middle Chinese, and that is apparent in dialect and how it evolved into the different dialects. I think in Cantonese it mainly just fell off. Or the nasal part was dropped and only the y part remained. For example, in Mandarin is like ya, with I think with one of the, I think maybe the sixth tone in maybe the sixth tone in Cantonese, but don't quote me on the tone part. And E is also a yacht in Cantonese, but I don't know what the tone is. Oh wait, scratch E, that does not, Ren is ya, is yan with a fourth tone in Cantonese. And in Korean, this part just dropped off. And in Japanese, sometimes it becomes na, and sometimes it becomes ja. For example, ni to nichi, and ni, which became Mandarin to nichi, and I just remembered r, and the number 2 in Mandarin is yi in Cantonese, with I think a second tone, and it's ni in Japanese and e in Korean. Person is the Chinese character for person is pronounced nin or jin in Japanese and in Korean. As you can see, the nya part just fell off.
Can believe a gradual sound change like that. One of the characters with the reading R is attached to noun as a diminutive suffix in many Mandarin dialects, most notably in the Beijing dialect. This R changes the final syllable that comes immediately before it, adding a rhotic sound at the end, in a process called R-hua. Many new finals are present phonetically thanks to R-hua, with the effect of dramatically increasing the amount of possible syllables in dialects which feature R-hua. Another potential new ending consonant in Mandarin is ma.
By the way, the syllable pronounced er, spelled er in pinyin, and pinyin behaves differently than most syllables. Most syllables, when you swap out the tone, it sounds like the same syllable, but with a different tone. For example, san and san, though they have different tones, still have the same vowel quality and consonants. However, which is the common diminutive suffix, and r, which is the number for 2, I was always encounter them with different vowel qualities.
Although historically all finals with ma ended up shifting it to na, rapid colloquial speech has reintroduced the final in a select few common words, namely with the pronouns 我们, 你们, and 他们 becoming 我, 你, and 他们, and 什么 becoming 什么.
Let me see how this might happen. So maybe this syncope got rid of the part, so it's of 我们, 我们, and eventually the just either got absorbed into the part and just dropped out. 我, 你, 他, and 什么. Yeah, I can understand that, because a lot of people times that N part is not pronounced. So it's 什么, and the part can just easily be clipped out. 什.
There have even been violations of these phonological restrictions I mentioned way back at the start of the video. The slang term moi, written with Latin characters, used for the onomatopoeia of kissing, spits in the face of the restriction that labiovelar finals like wa can't occur after labial consonants like ma. Another informal phonotactics violating word is gekie, which is a humorous reading of the word gege, meaning older brother. Additionally, there are some regional accents where the words fa and fa merge, either with fa shifting to ha or ha shifting to fa. In the latter case, since ha can occur before endings with the wa glide, it means that in these accents, fa can also occur after these finals, such as.
This is what's it called? Commenter explaining something. The h merger is essentially the hua merger. So fan is merged with huan, but hai wouldn't become fi. Something similar happens with hua in other Chinese languages. For example, hua in Mandarin commonly corresponds to f in Cantonese and Hakka. For example, I think that the Hakka word for red, hong, is something like fung. And hua, flower, is fa in Cantonese. Wait, I don't know the tone though.
With hui and huan turning into hui and fuan.
This would be
merger
fei
also
and
allows
fan.
for the syllables fi and hao from hai and hao, the former pair not previously existing. There are a lot of other mergers that exist in colloquial Mandarin speech that vary from region to region, influenced by the local dialect. These mergers are especially prevalent from people who speak a different variety of Chinese natively when speaking Mandarin. These include a merger between initial la and na, and a merger between final na and nga, which have the potential to make new syllables not present before. Naturally, most of these marginal syllables that I just described would not occur in formal speech, and oftentimes the colloquial reading of a given character differs from the reading in formal contexts. Also, naturally, most of these marginal syllables that I just described would not occur in formal speech, and oftentimes the colloquial.
I think I've seen 学 and 写. I think I've encountered both of these. I don't know if I've seen this character before. And this for color, I've seen 色 but never 色.
Reading of a given character differs from the reading in
写
formal contexts.
书
Mandarin
手.
also isn't the only Chinese variety with more potential syllables than those that are actually observed, and there are other marginal syllables in varieties such as Cantonese and Shanghai.
For example, in Cantonese, you could theoretically have a syllable tak, but it doesn't exist. Or another one that might be possible is yoi, and this yoi or cha.
that, this video has come to its natural conclusion. Before I go, if you're looking to improve your language skills and learn more about languages like Mandarin, check out AirLearn, the language learning app that makes mastering a new language fun and easy. Massive thank you to my Patreon supporters for...
That's all for this video. Make sure to like and subscribe to me and or what's it called, LingoLizard, if you feel like it, and I will see you later today. Wow, this video is 4 times the length of what I reacted to. That is kind of terrible by my standards, but I'll let it pass.